All right, everybody. Well, without further ado, we are going to get this show on the road. Welcome. We are going to be talking all about menopause. And this really is when you look at the data that is out there and the patients that are really ready to invest in their health, it is that 45 to 60-year-old woman, right? These women are financially established. They're later on in their career. Many of them, like me, are all of a sudden a new empty nester, and you've spent 20 years raising your kids and taking them to soccer games and doing all the things for your family. And you finally have a second to breathe and say, you know what, now it's time for me to focus on me. And so this is such a hot topic, and I have some amazing guest speakers that are going to be joining us today. We've got a girl-powered panel here talking all about menopause marketing and really helping you not only to know how to market to that patient, but how to really put together a comprehensive offering, right? How do you set yourself apart from some of these online platforms that are popping up every day and positioning you as that go-to authority for these women? So we're going to start off really just talking about the demographics of that most valuable patient. And this is the other thing too. Many practices are not specifically marketing to this woman, and this opens up a great opportunity for you. So again, we want to think menopause and perimenopause. So really everybody from their 40s, 50s, and even 60s. These are people that are in their peak earning years. They're in that phase of life where, retirement is on the horizon, and they are people that have disposable income to spend on cash pay services, hormone optimization, aesthetic services, peptides, weight loss. And yes, I would echo this. She wants to feel like herself again, right? You want to feel energized, confident, seen. And this woman is Googling, and I would argue she's also chat GPTing. She's asking her good friend Claude a lot of questions about this phase of life. Why is my skin so dry? Why have I gained 15 pounds out of nowhere despite, doing all the right things? I'm getting my 10,000 steps. I'm intermittent fasting, and all of a sudden this 15 pounds shows up out of nowhere. And she's not finding you yet. But today, what we are going to talk about is how can you be that local go-to provider that speaks her language and offers a solution that she's ready to move forward with. And again, this isn't a trend. I kind of touched on this. This is a big market, you guys. Why are all of these online platforms popping up every other day targeting these women? Because it is a big market, and it's a really big opportunity for you to be able to capture some of that market local to you. So again, 3 times more likely these people are to go to a provider that they trust. And so how do you capture some of this? And also ultimately, right, just help women feel better. At the end of the day, that's what we're wanting to do. And so I want you to also realize that this shift has changed so much in the last 2 years. The competition now isn't just the clinic down the street. It is your patient's phone screen. So every single day, and again, I will echo this. When I open up Instagram, when I open up Facebook, pretty much all of my ads are home improvement and ads for things from like Hers and Ally Health and MIDI Health. And honestly, even Amazon has a prescription market that they're also trying to capture that. And so it's very important to think about, and this is really why I'm excited for the couple of guests that we have on today, is there is something to be said about being able to come and see you in the office and meet your team and be able to have a real conversation with somebody about what they're struggling with, and you being able to offer solutions. And so when you think about, first and foremost, before we get into the marketing side of things, what are some of the things that you can do to really build a comprehensive menopause solution? And so we think about, a lot of folks will have, hormone optimization, right? A cornerstone of offering menopause solutions, IV therapy, anti-aging, aesthetics. Another big one that I personally think is really unmet is mental health in menopause. And then also thinking about peptides. I have Hannah from MedShift RX that's going to touch a little bit on this peptide opportunity. but this is one of the highest things that people are searching for online right now. And if you don't offer it, guess what? They're going to get it somewhere else. They're going to go to the black market, gray market, places where they're not really sure if this is efficacious. So peptides is a big piece of that puzzle. And then also another big one is sweating, hot flashes, odor. This is, again, one of the highest things that people are searching for. And it's something that you can address in your office. So I have Jill with MiraDry that's going to touch a little bit on this as well. But I want you to really think about, at the end of the day, you have to be different. You have to offer solutions that are more comprehensive than what they can get on these online platforms. And so then we'll shift and we're going to talk a little bit about how do you market that comprehensive solution. So I'm actually going to hand it over to, well, actually, I'll touch on this real quick and then I'm going to hand it over to Jill to talk a little bit about hyperhidrosis and that market. I touched on this briefly. When you think about the demand in search and the competition, peptides, very high demand. Again, one of the highest things that people are searching for right now. It is competitive, right? But you want to make sure that you're capturing that market. And then again, hyperhidrosis and excessive sweat, hormone therapy. Again, very, very high search term, a little bit more competition, but these are all going to be things that you want to capture from a marketing standpoint. Because remember, if you offer these sort of things, it's also going to drive traffic to everything else that you do at your clinic. So I am going to hand it over now to Jill with MiraDry to talk to us a little bit about MiraDry and menopause. So Jill, I will hand it over to you.
Thanks, Lori. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about MiraDry. And well, in 2015, we did a study around the menopause patient because when we were talking to patients, they said, well, I'm also increasing odor and sweat as I'm aging. And we said, well, let's a little bit more. Before I get into the insights, for those of you who aren't familiar with MiraDry, MiraDry is an energy-based device that treats underarm sweat, odor, and hair. We are the first and only of our kind, and it is a permanent treatment that delivers permanent results by targeting the sweat and odor glands and the hair follicles beneath the skin surface. And if you go on to the next slide, Lori, some of our results are really impressive. 90% no longer by underarm sweat, almost 90% no longer bothered by odor, and 75% underarm hair reduction of all colors. We act differently than a laser because we target, the energy is targeted beneath the skin surface and doesn't require pigment as a driver of the treatment or the mechanism of action. And I will encourage at the end to if you are interested in bringing MiraDry into your practice, to connect with our sales team who can give you all the details and talk to you more in depth about MiraDry. But I'm going to talk mostly about the menopause patient and how sweat and odor affects this patient. Now, what's really interesting is hyperhidrosis often is, for those who aren't familiar with the category, is thought of as more of a smaller or niche market. But we have to also consider that menopausal and perimenopausal women have previously been excluded from these studies. And it's often seen as an adolescent issue. And that's what we're finding is that is not the case. In fact, hyperhidrosis, postmenopausal hyperhidrosis, hot flashes, and night sweats all have very similar symptoms, triggers, and they present very similarly. So as we're talking to women who are going through hormone changes, they're saying, well, I am increasing my underarm sweat, or I'm having hot flashes and nights, which also affects the upper torso. And the thing about underarms is it really is the most bothersome area because it also produces odor. So there are very many similarities, and we may just not be capturing that because we're only, and as many of us know, we're only starting to really pay attention to this menopausal women at scale in the last couple of years. So I'm excited for more studies to come out around the menopausal and perimenopausal woman. So in our research, we looked specifically at this patient demographic, and we asked if they were presenting perimenopause symptoms or menopausal symptoms, and those who reported yes. We asked them about their underarm odor and underarm sweat. 70% did report an increase. And then of those, we also asked about a lot of other symptoms of menopause. And of those that were experiencing night sweats and hot flashes, they also reported an increase in underarm odor. And this all makes sense, but it's something that we often don't talk about, and often patients don't talk about, because now we're talking about two taboo topics. We're talking about menopause and odor. So not only am I going through menopause and I have all these symptoms, but I'm also smelly. So
I
you're
feel
talking
like
about
that. I will
double
tell
top
you
risk.
that I mean, not to tell you too much about my own menopause journey, but I feel like until I got on hormones, I mean, yeah, my husband's like, did you take a shower before bed last night? Because so I think you're right. I think it is something that definitely does bother a lot of people.
Absolutely. And we find a couple of different patient types when we start talking about this. One is, oh, I've been dealing with this for years, and now bothered and ready to do something because I'm looking at taking care of myself. The other is my hormones have gone crazy. I've never had this problem, and now I do. The challenge with odor is that it's very persistent. We have a lot of data on odor and how it sticks around. So even when we're treating those hot flashes, it can take months to years to get odor under control because your microbiome's involved and you're tinkering with a lot of things. So MiraDry is an option for those people who are experiencing it. Um, but so I was talking about this being a taboo topic, and Lori and Hannah, if you have any perspective, I personally have seen an explosion of menopause discussion in social media, which has really helped everything. And I hope that all of our providers on the phone or on the webinar have seen an improvement in these stats. But a lot of women have not talked about menopause proactively because they're not sure, or they have too much on their plate, or they're still worrying about their kids' health and all sorts of factors. But then when we asked on to the physician side, if your physician decided to bring up menopause symptoms and talk to you about a solution, how would you feel? And Lori, if you populate the next graph, you can see that I think if you
Oh,
just
there we
click,
go. Sorry, I had to hit the side button.
all good. If your healthcare provider proactively discussed, there are very few that would have a negative perception of that. So what's interesting is, women are going to Google and they're going to ChatGPT and Claude and they're asking all these questions, but ultimately they're relying on their provider as that source of trusted information. And they expect the providers to say, hey, here's a solution, or here's a new technology, or are you being affected by these symptoms? Let me help you. So they will feel very excited to hear from you.
Well, and I'll tell you what, too. Again, just me, I'm thinking back on my own conversation with my gynecologist. I'm only going to see that gynecologist one time per year. And that's probably the person that I'm expecting to have this conversation with. I had an ablation, an endometrial ablation when I was in my 30s. So I hadn't had a period. So I had no idea I was in menopause because I hadn't had a period anyway. So it wasn't like I had that to gauge, hey, maybe I'm in menopause. My gynecologist only has 15 minutes to talk to me. And she's there to do my annual, my breast exam, and this and that. And so then all of a sudden it's like, if it doesn't come up, you're not talking about it. And then what am I doing? Then I'm going to Google for the next year, or I'm going to ChatGPT for the next year to ask these sort of questions. And so I think whether you're a gynecologist, whether you're a family practice provider, whether you're a medical spa owner that's on this, I think this really speaks to like, this is more of an okay topic to bring up now. It is more mainstream. And you don't have to be a gynecologist to bring up and start talking about menopause. And I think that's really what we want to go over today, too, is like, how do you capture that person and let them know we're here for you? Like, if your
Mhm.
gynecologist isn't talking to you about this, guess what? We want to, and we have
Yeah.
solutions to really help you. So I think again, this just shows right here, it isn't a taboo topic. People welcome the conversation. It's almost a relief. Like even
Mhm.
when I talk about it with my girlfriends, it's like a
Yeah.
relief that we can all be like, menopause sucks, guys. Like this sucks. Like we need
Yeah.
help, So I think I love this, and I'm so glad that you put this in the presentation because I think it is like that's the shift that we really want to see happening, and it's the whole reason why we wanted to kind of do this webinar today. So,
Ab-
okay, sorry
Absolutely.
to interrupt. I'll let you close it out. I know.
No, I love that. I love that context, Lori. I think also what I've experienced personally when we talk about MiraDry to a patient. Hey, what do you do? So, well, this MiraDry treatment's underarm sweat odor. A large number of women say, "Oh my gosh, I have that problem." You would never know that. It doesn't come up organically. If, patients only know what they know. And if a provider can bring something like talking about peptides, which is very new, maybe not for all of us on the call, very new, but for the average patient, it is very new, but they're starting to hear about this. You can see the search volume is huge. Same any other wellness and holistic, patient care that's in your practice, talking about it, talking about the symptoms generally has a very positive response. So when we talked about the sweat and odor and the prevalence, the same group, the same cohort of patients that we were polling, we said, well, what if you had a long-term solution for sweat and odor? And almost 70% were interested, very interested. And not necessarily for the reasons that you might think. It's not necessarily because, oh, I've been having this problem and dealing with it, which is one of those reasons. But the number one reason is they just want to feel more comfortable, which I would argue is the number one reason why women go in to seek menopause care for all sorts of treatments. And how can you talk about it? It's a lot easier than you think. Have the intake forms, have this part of consultation conversations, in-office collateral, patient events. Doesn't necessarily mean you need to do massive marketing efforts to expose these treatments within your practice. It's actually quite easy to bring up these topics. So I'll end it on that for the MiraDry portion. So the opportunity is great. You can offer your patient something new. It can be an add-on treatment. Most of our patients, 60% are new to practice. So it's also a practice growth driver. And it's also differentiated. I think that's really key, especially in this market. I know that Lori's going to talk a little bit more about differentiating. And we've also partnered with MedShift RX to give out a free menopause peptide stack for those who book a meeting with our team. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Hannah.
Yes, thank you, Jill. Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Kraft. I am the VP of Marketing with MedShift RX. And I love that MiraDry addresses the excessive sweating and then, as Jill mentioned, the discomfort that comes along with it. But I think ultimately these symptoms are the start of a much larger conversation. Ultimately, I think these women are just experiencing a shift in how they feel overall, which, includes energy, sleep, recovery, body composition, skin quality, and the list goes on. But I think that's really where peptides can come in. And that's why at MedShift RX, I think we found such a good synergy between MiraDry, just supporting the wellness side of menopause through offering our peptides. So as you can see here, I just pulled some stats. I know Lori mentioned the search volume. So I think these stats just kind of speak for themselves and what your patients are actually looking for. So market demand is huge. It can reach up to the peptide market itself can reach up to 117.4 billion in less than 10 years. And I know Lori mentioned at the top of the webinar, your competition isn't down the street anymore. It's on your phone. Like, if you are not going to be a part of this market, then your competition is going to be. So really important to capitalize on that. And then the patient interest up 400% in searches just related to peptides.
And this is also because these celebrities have finally been
Yeah.
admitting that this is what they've been doing. And so
Yeah.
people are seeing Gwyneth Paltrow, J-Lo, Jennifer Aniston, Hugh Jackman, Joe Rogan. All of
Yep.
these guys are finally saying, hey, peptides are the things that they've been doing. And now they're becoming more mainstream and the everyday people can now get access to them. But like we were talking, Hannah, is being able to get them through a reputable source is the
Mhm.
biggest thing, because what you don't want is patients to go on some Chinese website and get these peptides, because I'm telling you, this is what they're doing and
Mhm.
it's scary. So getting them from a reputable source, I think is, that's the key.
Yeah, and I think also being the key provider that can provide access to that will be a huge differentiator as well. And just some quick case studies we've done shown here, a 250% increase in revenue per month just by adding peptides or a peptide-based wellness protocol to your practice. So one client went from $40,000 a month in revenue up to $140,000 a month consistently in revenue. And then also seeing it as a lead conversion. And then really, I feel like peptides are kind of the gateway. So, if someone comes in for peptides, particularly a menopause patient, that's where you could potentially dig into how else they're feeling, how else you can support them, and then also lead into kind of the MiraDry or sweat and kind of uncover some of their other symptoms. But if you want to go to the next slide, Lori, our focus at MedShift RX is just really helping practices build that next layer of care through peptide and wellness protocols. And as Lori mentioned, MedShift RX is run by a board certified pharmacist. So we do our take our vetting processes of our manufacturers and partner pharmacies very seriously. So we have C of A's for all of our peptides. We think that's really important. And then make sure kind of all of the facilities are certified, follow the proper protocols. But these are just some of the peptides that can help support your menopause patients. And I think MiraDry does a great job addressing the external visible symptoms of menopause with the sweating. And then I think with the MedShift RX side, we really help providers support the internal, more invisible symptoms that patients are experiencing. So as Jill mentioned, MiraDry has been generous enough to give the first 25 providers who book a call with them this entire peptide stack for MedShift RX. And this stack is worth over $500. So really good value there just to kind of experiment and try some out for yourself, try it out on a patient. But I'm just going to kind of hit on the three main ones here, which is GLP-1 tirzepatide, again, with the weight loss. And then there's the Glow Blend, which combines copper, GHKCU, the BPC 157, and TB 500. And then the NAD Plus, which supports kind of brain cognition, energy. And Lori mentioned to the patient profile at the beginning, your patient wants to feel energized. She wants to feel like herself again. She's Googling, why is my skin so dry? And that's the Glow Blend kind of solves for hair, skin, and nails, NAD with energy. And then even microdosing GLP-1 is a good kind of option for menopause patients as well. But as a bonus, there are also two other peptides we're throwing into this peptide stack, which is PT141 that really supports a healthy libido and can help kind of combat the hypoactive sexual desire disorder. And then CJC 1295 in the IPA blend that boosts your natural growth hormone production to enhance sleep, which is also another kind of big symptom of menopause patients. So for those of you that are already using MiraDry, or if you're proactively already treating menopause patients, I think incorporating something like a peptide program or protocol with any procedures or treatments really allows you as the provider to own the full patient journey and not just the procedure.
Yeah, love it. And I will tell you, this is my peptide stack. So
is it?
Yes, this is me.
I love it.
The only one I don't do is the CJC 1295 ipamorelin, but I have in the past. So I will echo that all of these are fantastic for that middle-aged woman. So all right. Well, thank you, ladies. And feel free to chime in. I know you guys have a lot of marketing experience as well. So now we're going to shift. And what I want to talk about now is, again, we talked about building that comprehensive menopause program that is going to differentiate you from these online telehealth platforms where people don't actually even get to come in and meet and be treated and have a real conversation. Now, how do you capture those people? How do you make sure that people know you are that number one go-to menopause practitioner in your area? So how do you find her, right, before she finds somewhere else? And so again, remember, this patient is actively searching. Your marketing needs to answer the questions that she has. And so I'm going to touch actually on a bunch of these different things. We're going to talk about events and webinars. We at Medical Marketing Whiz are very big believers in education-based marketing. Not salesy stuff. People don't want to feel like their provider is trying to sell them something. They want to feel empowered and educated. And these are two of the highest converting things you can do in your marketing. Menopause month. So menopause month is actually coming up at the end of the summer. So in September is Menopause Awareness Month. I will challenge you, take a couple of these ideas, start to implement them. By the time Menopause Month comes, you are going to be really a standout in terms of capturing that demographic. Email marketing. We're also going to talk about maintenance reminders. So there's certain treatments. So vaginal rejuvenation, I mentioned at the beginning. That is a treatment that people come in, they get their 3 treatment series, and then once a year they need to come back for their touch-up treatment. So this having some sort of maintenance treatment reminder system in place. And then of course, capturing that audience on social media. And so first I'm going to touch on some ideas for events. And really what I want to do today is I want to give you guys some ideas and kind of how to do them so that you can take 1 or 2 of these ideas and start to implement them as soon as this month. So again, I mentioned this is the #1 converting marketing thing that you can do. Nothing proves marketing works like butts in the seat or people on your webinar. We got 97 people on live on this webinar right now, right? Like that gets me excited. That gets me really excited. We've got, 200-300 people registered, 97 on live. Like think about if you had 97 women on your webinar and you're talking to them about menopause solutions, explaining to them, helping them feel heard, helping them feel understood, and giving them solutions. It builds confidence in you as that go-to expert. It showcases your expertise. It really does give them that personalized experience that they're not getting at their gynecology appointment where they only have 10 minutes to talk to the doctor once a year, right? It also generates word of mouth referrals. I will completely echo this because my friend group, like I'm 50, my friend group is pretty much everybody like 45 to 55 years old. I have sent 29 of my friends and their husbands to the place that I go to for hormone optimization, right? So that word of mouth referral, hey, I just was on this webinar and I heard all about menopause, or I went to this event and oh my gosh, like I didn't even realize like that the 15 pounds that came up had to do with my hormone imbalance and that GLP-1s can be microdosed. Like I had no idea about that, right? These are the conversations that they're having with their girlfriends on the weekend. So education-based marketing is key. And so I want to throw out a few ideas about events, and then I'll also touch on webinars. So one event that we personally have had a crazy amount of success at Medical Marketing Whiz is a screening event. And so there are a couple of documentaries. One of them is called The M Factor. The other one is called The M Factor 2. So one is about menopause, one is about perimenopause. We actually bought the rights to this movie because we loved it so much. So this is a screening. Now this screening, kind of think of it like movie night at the office. You could actually do it at a movie theater. You could do it at the library. You could do it, I mean, really anywhere, honestly. And this is one of our clients that is a functional medicine doctor that partnered with an aesthetic office. Now it's a win-win because they're inviting their patients, they're inviting their patients. Now those patients kind of get to meet the other provider. You've got double the amount of people that you can invite. They had over 180 people at this event. We did it 2 times for them. She left traditional medicine and went into a concierge model, which is scary, right? It's scary. It's like I'm leaving this, traditional medicine. Her calendar is full. And part of it is attributed to doing this screening event. This documentary talks about all the different things related to menopause. So libido, mental health, sexual health, weight gain, all of those things. And so this is also really nice if you're kind of maybe not the person that wants to speak on a webinar or doesn't want to get on in front of a group of people. This screening actually does the talking for you. And we
Lori,
do. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to add to that for some of our smaller practices too. I love the partnering with other practices, especially because you know that your colleagues in other areas and specialties are offering things that you don't want to offer or you can't offer. And we've seen a lot of success in practice growth across the board. We truly do take an interest in what is growing in your practice. How is your practice doing, especially with this unpredictable economy and market right now. And what we found is we have a large dermatologist in Miami who's partnered with a community around her practice for menopause and has seen a tremendous success in the growth of hers and her colleagues. And I think women are so motivated, and it also adds credibility to bring in multiple providers to have a conversation about it. So I love seeing this as an example because we've seen this not just all over the world. We've seen this model.
We have a group in Colorado similar. And actually I have a whole webinar. Maybe we could do this together, ladies, another time, but just about referral marketing. and creating those collaborative relationships. So no, I absolutely love that. It's very, very true. And it's a win-win for everybody, right? It's a win for the patient and it's a win for both providers. So why not?
Absolutely.
I love the example of MiraDry, right? Menopause MiraDry meetup. Like, yeah, I want to learn a little bit about this. And it might even be like a VIP consult day. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big event. It might be, hey, we're doing a menopause, mini consult all day long and have different time slots. Mimosas and menopause. This is one that we'll do on like Saturday mornings. It's kind of fun. It brings light to menopause. It's fun. You can talk about taboo topics like vaginal rejuvenation and sexual health and sweat and weight gain and all of those sort of things. So those are just a few of them that have worked really well for us. Also speaking opportunities. So think about, you even have patients that are part of women's groups. They might be part of the Rotary. They might be maybe they've got like a women's golf league or something like that. This is one of our clients that's doing a talk at her church. Menopause makeover. Like, again, this is all the things that you can do to turn back the clock. And then this is actually one of our clients. I thought this was really smart. She's actually partnering with a wealth management group, and she's doing her event again with collaborative group of other providers. And I think it's actually like at a Porsche dealership or something like that. So, which I thought was really a
I
really,
love that. I think it's good to get creative too.
yeah.
I mean, nothing draws people in more than, collaborating with another company they may not know a lot about, and at a Porsche dealership with, you're kind of getting that demographic, your patient profile that you're
Exactly.
targeting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I thought that was really unique. I'm not going to take credit for that idea. That was her idea, but she's got a lot of
I
great
love it.
ideas, Dr. Christie. So, and then again, thinking about branded packages, right? So a lot of times, again, these patients don't know what they really need. So you can come up with some fun packages: the menopause glow protocol, the refresh, the hormone harmony bundle, the confident comeback. These are all things that you can get creative. And guess what? We've got our good friend ChatGPT and Claude that can give us all sorts of fun ideas and ways that you can create these bundled branded packages that are specific for you and what you guys offer. Again, this is something that they're going to get on this online sort of companies that are in their social media all day long. So I wanted to give you a quick checklist just on how do you actually run a high converting menopause event. So number one, you got to make sure you do give yourself enough time to market this. So you are targeting that busy professional woman that's probably got travel for work and she's got things going on. So if you're just going to give me 2 weeks notice, chances are I'm probably not going to be able to come. So give me at least 4 weeks notice and I can block it on my calendar and I'm going to be there. But guess what? I don't want to come by myself. I want to bring some of my girlfriends with me because, again, we're all struggling the menopause journey together and it's more fun to do things with friends. So offer some kind of bring a friend incentive and then make sure you're promoting it across multiple channels. So don't rely just on social media RSVPs. You do want to have a landing page where people can actually register. Where we have found very easy to post your event, and it kind of does a landing page for you, is Eventbrite. So this is a free place that you can post your event. You can have it be free. People get quote unquote tickets. And Eventbrite will even remind them, hey, don't forget, you've got this event coming up, and it will remind them to show up. You can also load your entire email list into Eventbrite and do your email marketing for the event through Eventbrite. I can't remember if that one's 100% free, but again, this is very low cost, high impact. Again, I personally am a big show and tell person. I think you can talk about menopause, but the more that you can actually show and teach, that's important. So one of the things we do is we actually help our clients kind of put together a slide deck. Women weight in menopause is always a very good topic as well. So kind of incorporating maybe the GLP-1s and things like that in there. And then you're going to have your event pricing menu. So some of those packages that we talked about, you don't want people to just come and just kind of be like overwhelmed with all the information. You want a call to action for them to book. Take deposits if you can. Maybe it's a $50 or $100 deposit to lock in the pricing for these event only bundles that you're putting together. And then don't forget to follow up. So at the event, take pictures. Use those pictures, post them on social media. You want to create a little bit of FOMO, right? Hey, shoot, dang it, I wasn't able to get to their event this time, but I'm definitely going to make it next time. Maybe you extend the event only pricing via email for, 24, 48 hours. So if people aren't able to make it, they can call in and still take advantage of that, or at least come in and book an appointment. So that follow-up, there's a saying, right? The fortune is in the follow-up, super important after those events.
I think, Lori, too, I would also argue before the follow-up is the reminder. So
Yes.
especially with live events, and all of you on this webinar today should have gotten a lovely text message reminder for this. So I think, especially with live events, maybe not an hour before, but a couple days before,
Yep.
just, yeah.
Yeah, reminders are definitely important because again, we're busy and we forget that we signed
Yeah.
up. So webinars, again, this to me is, I personally think if you're if you're doing menopause care at all, you must have a signature menopause talk. Get it pre-recorded and have it be an evergreen webinar. Again, this is low cost, high reach. Doesn't, you don't have to, it really is very inexpensive for you to do this, but really same kind of format, RSVP, landing page. Personally, if you haven't done a lot of webinars, I wouldn't do it live. I would just pre-record it. You can get rid of any ums or mistakes that you make. You can make it really professional. This is something our team helps with. But you can certainly do them live. You get a little bit more interaction doing it live. You can also stream it on Instagram, Facebook, so you can kind of get a double whammy there. You also can afterwards post it on YouTube. YouTube also helps you with Google search and search engine optimization. So it's just more content. You can also chop up that video into small little videos. Now you've got 20 social media videos targeting menopausal patients. So testimonials are great. And I would argue this is good even if you have an event. Get somebody to come and actually share their personal testimony about their menopause journey and what you did to help them. It's, again, makes people feel heard. And it gives you that kind of third party validation that what you're offering actually really does work. And then always send the replay out. So again, just like today, not everybody's going to be able to join live. Not everybody's going to be able to stay for the whole thing. Make sure you send out that replay afterwards. And we're going to talk next just about some social media ideas. And again, just as a reminder, this isn't about selling. It's really about creating content that compels with this specific demographic of that 45 to 60-year-old patient. So you want to think of your social media as educating, right? So breaking down menopause symptoms, treatment options, myths, and really position yourself as that trusted source. And then you can also ask questions. So it's a good time on social media to have a poll or encourage engagement on your posts. The algorithm actually does reward you for having engaging content, transformation stories, patient wins. And then every fourth post is really where you're asking them to take action. So one mistake that I see a lot of times is people it's all about like book an appointment, book an appointment, book an appointment. And it's very salesy. And you got to remember this person may not be, they may still think like they got to wait till their gynecologist appointment to have this conversation in 3 months. So it's really just letting them know that you're there, you're the expert, you've got things that can address their problem. And then you're inviting them to come in for a consultation. So just a few social media examples on here. Again, I love this. This is a freebie. So they're giving away a free guide about menopause. The person downloads the guide, it captures their email address because again, you don't want to put all your eggs in the social media basket. You want to make sure you're collecting emails. So if you give away something of value in exchange for somebody's contact information, now you're building your email list, they're getting your newsletters, they're getting invited to your events and webinars. Jill, you must have thrown this one in here. Is it hyperhidrosis month this month?
No, this is in November. But
November. Okay.
one of the things you're talking about is so important. One of the things that we work with our providers to is to not necessarily promote a special price or an offering or booking, but simply educate. So what we see is when people talk about a treatment like MiraDry and educate about that treatment, their business does increase. And what we see for the most part, and I would argue that this is true for any treatment or condition, it is what you're saying, Lori. We see this real time, and we have data that correlates. When you talk about MiraDry, you see growth, and not necessarily promoting it. We actually see the pricing per treatment go up over time by simply educating. So we're not discounting or throwing things away. It's educating. And That gives also a level of credibility, again, across any treatment, any condition. Something you can use right now is exactly what you're saying, is that educational content. Talk, if you're offering peptides, talk about peptides. If you're offering hormones, talk about hormones. And then ask your patients, what else do you want to hear about?
Yeah.
What else are you hearing out there? What are you curious about? Have a dialogue with your audience, I think, is the other advice I would give as well.
I think this
Yeah. I
office just
think
looks fun too. Like I would
It's
want to
the
go there because
most
they
fun.
look fun, you know?
Yeah, I
Yes,
was
this is
gonna
our
say,
team. So
Jill,
fun.
to your point on the education, I have talked to a lot of our customers and practices, and they always say this, they're saying the same thing. The best sales tool is education for them,
Mhm.
as long as the client feels comfortable and then the practitioner is educating them, it makes the patient feel more comfortable. That's your best sales tool is education.
Yep, yep, absolutely. The other thing too that a lot of folks forget about, and I will tell you, a very high converting thing that you can do is get involved in these Facebook groups. Again, 45 to 60-year-old woman, I believe it or not, my kids laugh at me, but I am still on Facebook, probably more than I am Instagram. But these groups, so I'm actually moving right now to this town called Brighton, Michigan. And so this was literally 2 days ago. I just threw this in the deck today. Look, I'm moving to the area. Now, this was not me, but I'm moving to the area. I'm looking for an integrative doctor, specifically one that helps women with perimenopause, right? If you're not in this group, how do you know about this woman that is seeking out exactly what you offer? So I would have someone in your team look for some of these different local groups because I can tell you there are tons of word of mouth recommendations that are happening in these groups. If you host a women's wellness night, you can post it in the group. You can't post salesy stuff, but certainly if you're doing a webinar that's for women in the community, you can post that in these groups. So we have seen folks, this in many ways can outperform paid ads.
Yeah, I would just
Oh, go ahead.
add to that, that person asking, she's not the only one. What,
Right.
nobody is the only one. So people are following and looking. We see this trend in Reddit a lot too. So I just want to echo the forum at people are looking for recommendations all the time everywhere. So
Yep. Yep,
great.
absolutely. And just you got to be in there to be able to get your name out there. So, just speaking of ads, I will touch on this quickly. Again, I love this example where we're running an ad specifically for just are you in menopause? It's a menopause quiz. And as Jill mentioned at the beginning, that's one of the questions people have like, am I even in menopause? I have absolutely no idea. So you're running an ad for the quiz, and then it gives you the answer on the landing page. So no other ad format for medical practice will consistently convert as strongly as quizzes do. So again, we're looking here to build your email list, but also give somebody an answer to a question that they're actively looking for. And then you can automate your responses. So this is another example. They're giving away an e-guide related to menopause, and they get a thank you email automatically. They get a text email automatically. And we use Go High Level as our software for our clients. We can even do voicemail drops. So this is a way to automate the process, not to take away from the fact that yes, you do want somebody to actually call them, but there's ways to make sure that if this person downloads this book at 11 o'clock at night, they're still getting at least some touch points. Newsletter. So hopefully everybody is doing some sort of email newsletter. Now, let me tell you this. In terms of being a medical and healthcare professional, you have the number 2 open rate of any email that goes out to people. The only thing that beats doctors is religious organizations. So email is not dead, especially when it comes to healthcare. And just don't underestimate the fact that this can actually really keep you top of mind and do educating. The other thing, remember, you own your email list. So I actually even had a conversation earlier today with somebody, and we were looking at their ads. They're with another agency right now. We were looking at their ads, and their ads were all the call to action was just DM them on Instagram. And I'm like, how do you even manage that? Because you're not collecting the person's contact information. You've got all these messages that are going back and forth. They're not on your email list anymore. They're not getting your newsletter. They're not getting invited to your events and webinars. Like your goal should be to get people on your email list, because if Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or any of these platforms shut your page down tomorrow, if you have a solid email list, you will not miss a beat. So this is somebody, also your existing patients. Maybe they've been part of your clinic since they were in their 30s. They don't know that you offer solutions for menopause. So they already like you, right? Like just make sure that they know everything you're doing. The average ROI is $36 ROI for every $1 spent on email marketing. And again, this is ideal for reaching that 45 plus year old woman, who many of them do prefer email over just what they're seeing in social media. I've got a few ideas here. Just again, an article, as Hannah mentioned, education based marketing, not sending your monthly specials every single month. This is, again, it's just an example. Every month is a health month. So we've got Women's Health Month this month. We've got Men's Health Month next month, Menopause Month coming up. So just include some things that you know are also going to get clicks. Like we always like to include some kind of recipe because we know that gets saved a lot, it gets shared a lot. It helps keep you out of the spam folder. And again, if you actually go to the Medical Marketing Whiz website, up in our menu, you can actually, we put together a list of every single health month, and you can go on there and grab every single health month. You've always got something to talk about. So we threw a few ideas up here again about some different topics as it relates to menopause, but there's always a way to weave menopause into it. So just continue to think about those things and make sure that you're capitalizing on those health months. And then again, the contact mix is really 85% helpful information, educating, connecting, inspiring, and 15% of it is promotion. So really just making sure that you're tapping into that education focus. And so I really was trying to make sure this stayed under an hour. So hopefully you guys took away some ideas. Really, again, step one, make sure you really have a differentiator in your clinic that makes you different, makes you that one that now competes in a better way than some of this online resources that people now are seeing every single day. And maybe just think about one or two of the things that you would like to implement in your practice over the next 90 days. And so this again is just a little bit about us. My team is pretty much all women. I can't put it on a job description, but I like to hire middle-aged women because we are very much the demographic that is making appointments for ourselves, for our husbands, for our kids, and for our aging parents. And we really craft things through the lens of, would this resonate with me? Is that an event that I would go to? Is that a webinar that I would want to learn about? And so that's really the providers that we work with are very focused on not just women's health, but kind of targeting that middle-aged patient. I do always like to have a little freebie as well. And we actually have a couple freebies here. So I have a book on Amazon called Anti-Aging and Longevity Marketing. We will actually ship you an author copy of this book, and we will even pay for the shipping. So if that is something that you are interested in, you can scan the QR code, save yourself 20 bucks. You don't need to go on Amazon. We will actually ship this to you guys. This has my brain dump of 10 years of marketing knowledge, and a lot of how-tos are in this book as well. So we will get you guys, every single person that registered for this webinar is going to get a copy of that. In addition to that, you can book a strategy call with us. So if you like any of these ideas and we need to talk about like how could you actually implement this in your practice, I am more than happy to get on a Zoom with you one-on-one and we can talk about that. So again, that's something you can scan here. You can also just go to our website. You will get access to my calendar. We will meet on Zoom, and I promise you it will be one of the best meetings that you've ever had. You're going to walk away super excited with a lot of ideas. And then you can also see if we're a good fit to work together. Great. I always tell folks, very worst case scenario, you're going to walk away with some ideas and a strategy that you can implement. We did mention this, Jill. I'll let you and Hannah kind of wrap things up just on MiraDry and the peptide stack. So I'll let you guys, I'll hand it over to you to chat about that too.
Yeah, just a reminder, if you book a meeting and you're interested, book a meeting with sales to talk about bringing MiraDry into your practice. We also have some individuals on the phone who have offered to talk to anyone who has questions about MiraDry. So we can definitely connect you with another practice as well. Just scan the QR code or email marketing@MiraDry, and we will get you a menopause peptide stack courtesy of MiraDry and MedShift RX. I also saw a question about learning about peptides. So Hannah, I think you can address that.
Yes, I did see a couple questions come through, and we'll follow up with you guys individually. But again, yeah, MiraDry was gracious enough to offer this peptide stack for those of you that book meetings. And we do have a lot of resources on our website too about peptides with our doctors and how to stack them, kind of best practices, the popular ones that your clients are probably researching or hearing about. But again, these are just some of the more popular ones for menopause patients. And yeah, you can scan that QR code to create a free account on MedShift RX, and then that will unlock pricing for all of our peptides. You can see our entire portfolio. I think we have about 80 SKUs or so of different peptides. So any questions, you can direct them to us. We'll follow up with you guys.
And I will, again, I'll give you a shameless plug here, Hannah. Like, this is my menopause secret. I told my husband actually this morning, I was like, I think I'm just going to keep telling people that I'm 50 because I am. Because people are always like, you don't look 50, and it just makes me feel good.
I
But
think, Lori,
that's fine.
I'm going to use you as a testimonial on
It's
my
I will give you a
on our
testimonial,
site.
but
We'll use you
when
as a testimonial.
people ask me the secret, I'm like, you guys, peptides, I'm telling you. It's I am back in my clothes that I like, not my college clothes, but my size that I was in college. Like, I feel like a freaking $1,000,000, and I am happy to shout it from the rooftops. I am also on hormones, so I am like very much the patient that spends money on these things. And I'm really excited. I'm just excited to see this incorporated in more clinics, not only MiraDry, peptides, vaginal rejuvenation, all of those sort of things. Because again, I think patients want to still see people. I really do. I
Mhm.
think they want to still feel heard. And all of you that offer a blend of, some of you maybe are doing telehealth and you're also doing in person, like, you're meeting with people, and that's really what people want. So I'm excited about this. So thank you so much. Everybody pretty much stayed this entire time. So hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of it. I am going to wrap things up only because I want to be respectful of everybody getting back to work, but we will follow up with a replay for everybody, and then also address some of the questions that came up in the chat as well.
And really quick, I saw Gabby ask the question about the stacking and dosing for peptides. We can include the dosing guides, just recommended dosing guides with your peptide stack.
Awesome. All right. Jill, Hannah, you guys were amazing. I had so much fun.
So much
And
fun.
we will get the replay out to everybody, and hope everybody got a lot of value out of it. And we'll be back. We're going to be doing some more marketing and business optimization webinars here over the next 12 months together as a team. So you'll be hearing from us again. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Lori.
All
Bye,
right. We'll see you soon.
everyone.
Bye bye.